Hello, this is a Centerity 4.1 demo, and my name is Lara Fredericks. The Centerity dashboard is the first thing that we encounter once we enter Centerity. And this dashboard is comprised from a variety of widgets that the customer can select, and there are about 50 different widget choices. And we can see here the business services, and we have some maps, the overall critical business service overview, and then we also have our event console. So now we can go to business services. And the business services is probably the most critical dashboard that we have in Centerity because it can show you the status of your overall business. So here you will be able to see in our example that there are 4 business services in the warning status, and then we have one that is in breakdown status, which means it's completely not working. So let's go into one of our business services. So once we click in, we can see that this is the Customer Analytics via SAP HANA Vora business service. And once we can look here in the service levels, we can see that the business service is comprised of security, of network, MapR, operating systems, SAP HANA, so on. On the right side, you can also see weights, which means that the user has defined every layer to have a different value and different effect for the business service. So in this example, security is almost like one of the lesser business services, including the network, because they only affect the business service by 10%. We can just see I have a small issue in MapR, and then over here with SAP Vora, I have something very critical going on. So we can see that. And in this instance too, every metric can be defined to have a higher value on the level. Okay, and then in the events, we can actually have an overview of the different events that are currently occurring on the business service. And in map, this is a Visio that was created for the specific business service, so we can see that we have different operating systems for SUSE, we have Lenovo X Clarity, we have MapR, and this is also a live map, so once clicked on a host, we will actually be navigated to its own information. Then we have the hypermap, and this is also a automatically generated map, and it's kind of a easy visual way to see what metrics are currently critical. And if we want to know a little bit more of what is monitored on that specific host, we can also click through and also open the entire metric list. So now I want to show you an example of a graph. So any metric in Centerity will have an automated graph created. Any numerical value will be graphed. And in this example, we have the MySQL web application critical events, and we do have some up and downs here. Once I click on history, I can also go to beyond this day. So we have the hourly graph for it, the daily graph, we have the weekly graph, and monthly. And once I see some peaks, I can actually come closer and see the exact time of the event and drill into that. Centerity has 13 pre-built reports in the system. And we're going to go over some of the most important reports today. First, we have the SLA report. The SLA report is a report that is going to tell you what was the availability of the different components that we're going to be reporting on. So we actually have several things that we can report on. We can report on different hosts, host groups, metrics, or business services. And business services would really be the most preferred way to go about and the way that we recommend. First of all, with business services, we have the most control over what affects the SLA. We can show the most real perspective of things that actually affect the SLA without the nudging things that don't truly affect the SLA in the moment. And all of these reports can actually be generated for PDF or Excel. Once we save them, we can also create schedules, so basically sending these reports in different time periods to a specific group of contacts or just one contact. So nothing has to be recreated every time. This can be completely automated and sent to an email. So let's generate this first report. So in this first report, we can see that we had a 91% availability. And once we go down, we can actually filter and see what were the most critical events for that time. So we can see that this SAP Vora Note Health was critical 100% out of my 7-day period. And then we have things that are a little bit lower. So this was just like less than 20% of the time. And we can see that for the warning statuses as well. Once we go below, we can also see a duration, which is essentially your MTTR on how long each alert lasted before it got resolved. So we can see here. We can also filter it by status, so we can have that. Then once we go down below, we have an even further detail of the actual outputs that happened on that metric and on that host. Our high-level executive SLA report. So this SLA report, or usage summary report, takes into account only events that occurred within the week. So in this SLA report, the metrics that are taken into account are calculated a little bit differently, and we'll see that in a moment. We're going to just generate it for the last 7 days and see my SLA. So I can see here that I had a 99.13% of availability on this business service in the past 7 days. This daily view graph can kind of show you which days were a little bit lower. For me, it was on the 8th. And then we can see the different level breakdown and where was the exact issue. So we can see that we had a little bit of a lower SLA on MapR and on hardware, but overall good. And you can also see a daily breakdown, so it'll actually tell you the exact date and the SLA for that level on that day. So in this way you can see that an executive would be able to know where the issue was, but it doesn't tell you the same level of detail that is unnecessary for this high-level view. You know who to turn to, you know which teams are responsible for everything, but you don't need to know like the exact alert that occurred. You can trust the business service to know how much it affected the SLA and how important it is. And then we have a little bit of a stat graph, which you can see a little bit of a downhill over here. This SLA is actually really good, so we don't see any significant low. So if we click on a topology map, it is actually based on our discovery mechanism. And this is a very, very broad one of multiple networks. We can see a vCenter, and you can see a lot of connectivity going on here. And this is actually recreated every time we run our topology discovery, and it creates the topology and adds any new hosts that are found on the environment, and updates any necessary topology updates. So in our discovery, we actually support device awareness, which can go up to currently about 20 to 30 device types. There is also the automatic topology. Our discovery can be scheduled and having a report sent to a user to update what we have found. The different new devices can be automatically added to the system as well based on the device awareness. Thank you for watching the Centerity demo, and for any questions, please contact us.